everybody, it's Chef Kate. Welcome again to my kitchen. Today we're going to talk about extending your harvest. It's fall, so all of our harvest is pretty much over. My tomatoes are out of my garden, my green beans, all of that. How do I keep that wonderful produce from going bad and extending the season? I am here to tell you some of my secrets. So I have some blackberries here on my tray. I rinsed them really well. I put down a piece of parchment paper, one of my favorite tools. You can put it on a plate, you can put it on, I have it on a cookie sheet, whatever you want. I'm going to put it into my freezer. Yes, I have a very large freezer. But what will happen is these blackberries will freeze individually. So in the restaurant business, we call that individually quick frozen. So they're not going to be all stuck together in one big lump. You can take them out for your smoothie or whatever you're making. And just whatever you need. So individually quick frozen, simple and easy. You can do it with pretty much any kind of fruit and vegetables too. All right, so I have all these tomatoes out of my garden. They're nice and small. What I can do is I'm going to top off the top because I don't want the stem in there. I'm just going to basically quarter these, maybe do 6 pieces here, and I'm going to put them on my tray, again lined with parchment paper. So I'm going to do small little pieces of tomato. I'm basically going to roast them up, and then I can either freeze them already roasted if I want to, or I can put them in a jar with some olive oil, and then I call them recipe ready. So here I have them roasted in a nice airtight jar. Stir it up. That's olive oil on the top. So I can put these right into some flatbreads, into a sauce, whatever you want. I use a lot of olive oil when I'm cooking, so it's not going to compete with my other flavors in there. And when I put them in the fridge, I want to make sure the top is all covered with oil, and that way they're going to stay nice and fresh and not get moldy or anything in your fridge. All right, so I have some tomatoes on here. If I wanted to do my cherry tomatoes, I would just slice them in half and I put them on there. The smaller the piece, the faster it's gonna roast. So what I do is I roast them about 325 degrees in the oven. The smaller the piece, the faster it will roast. So the small cherry tomatoes, so I have a tray of cherry tomatoes, might take 25 minutes. The bigger pieces might take closer to 45 minutes, but you'll see they'll start to turn brown. And then your whole house smells delicious. But the key to the tomatoes, roasting them, is the parchment paper. Don't skimp on that because the tomatoes will stick to your pan and then you lose the wonderful part of the tomato that's roasted. On the parchment paper, you can peel it off and you put it right into your freezer bag if that's what you're using so that they're frozen all winter. Or put them into your jar and cover them with oil, and you're ready to go. They're ready to go. Throw it right into your recipe. So here I have some hatch peppers that I picked out of my garden, kind of almost like a poblano pepper. So I make some soup with these. I need about a cup per recipe. So what I do is I'll roast them at about 400 degrees in the oven, on a cookie sheet lined with parchment paper, and I'll roast them, flip them halfway through, and then I cut them up so they're ready to go right into my soup recipe. What I'll do is I can freeze them in a bag, and here they are, ready to go for my next batch of soup. They're ready to go. I can thaw them out, I can put them in the soup frozen, but they're recipe ready. All right, so here I have my oregano that I clipped out of my garden. You can buy it at the store or whatever. Any kind of herb on a stem like this, so sage you can do, thyme, whatever you use. All I did is I took some string that I would use to tie up a roast, but you could use embroidery floss, anything you like. I'm gonna hang it upside down, so like this. In my pantry, I have little hooks on there or nails that you dry it upside down. I like to, once it's dry, I put it into a jar or a plastic bag or something, an airtight container, and write on there what it is so everybody in your household knows that, like, this is oregano, and they don't go and use it in something else thinking it's cilantro, and the flavor's not going to be the same. So then what I'll do is I'll keep this all winter long and use it, and then next spring and summer when my oregano is nice and fresh in my garden, I can get rid of my stuff that I dried. So every year, the plant keeps coming back. I harvest it for the winter, comes back in the spring, and then I can use my fresh herbs all season long. All right, so these are last year's dried herbs that are still hanging in my pantry. As I needed up my sage leaves, things like that, I pull them off. And now that I'm harvesting this year's, I can put these in the compost bin, get rid of them, have my nice fresh ones up here for the season.